My name is Julie Green, and I have not made a YouTube in ages, but I decided that I would do it. So here goes. I have an anniversary coming up, kind of a silly one. July 1st, 1980. 35 years ago, I began my first diet, and that is the day I say, oh, that was the beginning of my eating disorder. So, yeah, I have that coming up now. And, so that's what I'm going to talk about in this video, just kind of reflecting on, well, 57 years of life and 35 years of it being eating disorders, or whatever you want to call it, or whatever. But before I do, I want to put in a plug for a couple of absolutely terrific YouTubers out there. One being Daniel Mackler, who is extremely positive. He's got some great ideas on other ways that you can fix your mental health or improve your mental health or whatever, if you so desire. How the importance of, certain things that maybe you didn't think of before. And another is Desha Blue, who speaks of the dangers of going down certain paths. And she does title her videos very well. If it's anything that's going to upset someone, she lets you know. So, at any rate, 35 years ago, when I started my eating disorder, do you realize how long ago that was? I had no clue what an eating disorder was. I knew I had serious problems with my eating, and I stated so finally when I went into therapy that was the mistake. I made the huge mistake of going into therapy. And I only realized this in hindsight because at the time I was seriously immersed in it, and I really believed that this was the way. This is the only choice I had. I had no choice but to go into therapy, much as I didn't want to. But I voluntarily went in. I walked in by myself, and I didn't really tell anybody that I was going to do this. I'm like that. Now, at first, when I realized, after all these years, oh my God, I did the totally wrong thing all this time. Yeah, I was pissed. I mean, of course. I saw it for what it really was. It was, this is what it was. In 2012, this was when I started to make the old turnaround. This was at a point, and I remember the exact moment, because this was like a light bulb, that came off in my head. I looked back, and I saw it for what it really was, and I said, wait a minute, has therapy done anything constructive in my life? Nope. At best, the best of the therapists only maintained me at a very low level of functioning. Yeah, did they keep me out of the hospital? Well, sometimes. That didn't mean much, because I was often suspended in this, about to end up in the hospital any day now, and I'd be suspended like that for months. That's no way to live. Was I truly any better? Definitely not. I mean, my eating disorder had barely been addressed, but I wasn't in any way better. Even the very, very best of those therapists, very nice, kind, caring people, they didn't really help. Again, they maintained me. Was that all I was worth? I did earn 2 college degrees in that whole journey, but I had to fight against the therapists. Yeah, I had to fight against the therapists, against those low expectations that they had of me. After I earned my master's degree, clinicians, They barely showed any interest in my writing. It was like it didn't exist. Okay, I had this great potential career, but no, they were not interested in it. They had no interest in it. They didn't encourage me to advance. And anyway, they just were telling me over and over how sick I was. And they demanded that I stop writing. Yeah, they demanded I stop writing. This is what I was trained to do and where my heart is. And they said, you have to stop. What? Yeah, seriously. In 2012, it was the year of my awakening, but was it instantly better? No. In fact, 2012 was the worst year of my life. Just plain worse. My eating disorder was so handicapping that year, I didn't even want to live anymore. And that year, I made hundreds of calls all over the country, begging for help, and I was repeatedly turned down time after time after time. I was beginning to wonder, when am I going to stop hearing the word no? And much of this denial of care wasn't even legal. And now it had been like 32 years, and no one can help me after 32 years of mental health treatment, and I was decidedly worse. I had gone through a complete personality change for the worse, and I knew it. I was well aware of it, but I couldn't stop it. This was the height also of the mass exodus of friends, and you could probably watch them, turning their backs and walking away, which, it was all that's part of the story, guys. And at the time, I just almost gave up. I decided life wasn't worth it. And you know something? It wasn't. It wasn't worth it at that time. What I didn't realize was that it wasn't going to suck like that forever. My turnaround from that very low point was gradual, barely putting one foot in front of the other. And I didn't see anything good in life, but I believed that in the remote possibility that maybe there was something just around the bend. And I held on to that. And I realize now that every time I tried to get away from diagnosis, I couldn't do it. And, I remember going to a new PCP and, make one remark and boom, I got labeled, stereotyped, etc. Finally, I did this drastic relocation to South America. And I knew that relocation would not solve my eating disorder. I knew it would still be there. The major change was this. I removed myself from the horrific oppression that for decades had prevented me from getting well. That oppression was psychiatric diagnosis, societal bigotry as a result of having gone to care, and mental health care itself being the worst culprit. Without these hindrances, now that I'm here, I was able to rediscover myself. Guess what? I liked what I saw. I'm able to be that person I was meant to be all along. I was meant for adventure. I was meant to have ups and downs. I love having fun and being alone. And, the key thing to getting human beings back into my life was the following. I had in me the urge to find like-minded people. In society, we do that, don't we? Don't religious people of like mind go to a church and convene? Yeah. Don't students have their student hangouts? Elders have maybe a senior club or senior center? Where was my place? I met people all over the world who had experienced similar awakenings to the one I had. We shared our stories. It opened my eyes, and I saw my mission more clearly than ever before. Folks, this is about basic human rights. Rights we are born with. Now, I could certainly work on my eating disorder because I now was completely free to experiment on my own. Yeah, freedom also meant mistakes. I did a lot of dumb mistakes. It also meant freedom to learn from these mistakes and really get to know my body. I had been denied this for over 3 decades. I have been through a period of tremendous anger. Of course! Crap, who wouldn't be? But I decided to fully acknowledge and embrace those feelings that were now just pouring out of me. Oh my God, pouring out. For a long time, I watched another mass exodus. The mass exodus of all those years of crap. Talk about detox. I began to develop a way to handle my eating disorder that those therapists, because they were not me, could never uncover. Wellness came to me bit by bit and sometimes rather rapidly. I continue to get better. I'm becoming more joyful. And folks, I couldn't even use the word joy in a sentence a year ago. And yeah, I do have areas that I need to improve. Sure. Plenty of things, and I'm working on them, and I enjoy it. The best thing I ever did for myself was to ditch mental health care entirely, 100% ditch it. I no longer see a therapist. I no longer take their drugs, nor a psychiatrist, nobody. It was the only way I could have done it. I'm leaving you with a few links to check out and the following message. Believe in possibility. Ciao!